So hello and welcome back to the Caledonian Braves podcast for the 2024-25 season. I'll be your host for this, Callum Rattray. I'm joined by Fraser, Godden once again, and we'd like to kick this off just by saying a huge welcome to everyone that's new to the club. Possibly this is the first time you'll be watching in for a podcast, so if that is the case, welcome along and I hope you enjoy this. Fraser, we're going to be having a chat today about the Lowland League and the Caledonian Braves, but firstly, how have you enjoyed your summer? It feels like it's not been too long since we were watching the team lift in the cup just a few months ago.
I know, summer's been lovely. The weather's been poor, but summer
usually is, yeah.
I've enjoyed a bit of time off, but I'm ready to go. It's going to be a big season for the Braves in particular. Obviously finishing off last season with a big cup win, so hopefully going to take that into this season. So excited and ready to go.
I mean, and it is looking like a really exciting division we've got on the cards as well this year. We're having a chat through some of the teams in there, but it's a stacked league certainly, and as we know, 18 teams in this division can cause it to be a really exciting league. Not something you get in the divisions above as well. Anyone that doesn't know the Scottish Pyramid quite so well, the divisions above are 10 teams and the Premiership 12 teams. So for us, it is a big division. Each team will play each other home and away once. That's the structure of it. Hopefully we're not going too deep into the boring details of the Lowland League for anyone that is listening that is obviously familiar with the club and the structure of that. But it is going to be an exciting division, but hopefully this year it's something that the Braves could be trying to disrupt the top end of the table.
Yeah, for sure. I think what we saw last season, we spoke to Ricky mentioned it quite a few times last season that there wasn't much between a lot of the teams last season. There was East Kilbride were probably the standout team.
That's
it. Well, they were.
You probably expect to see them be up there again, of course. Yeah,
exactly. But they came down to the Alliance Park and the Braves competed, and there wasn't much between the sides. So I think we can expect, especially with the younger players that have had that experience the last season coming into this season, and then the new signings that the club has made, the Braves will be up there without a doubt, and I think they will compete with the likes of Trinent, Cumbernauld Colts, East Kilbride.
I mean,
so
there's definitely some of the teams you see being up there. I'm sure it's still a young group and it's going to take a bit of time to gel, and I'm sure they'll take it on sort of a game-to-game basis, to give you one of your first cliches of this podcast there, and see how it obviously goes. But there is definitely potential with this group, the additions we've made, which I think we'll go into a bit more detail in when we sort of look at the squad and the players that we've got available for this season. For anyone that doesn't know the squad as well, we'll touch on the retained players as well that we enjoyed watching last year, but we've just added some real bits of quality to what we had last year, which was, as I've already mentioned there, and you've touched on, a really competitive division, wasn't it? And there was almost nothing. There was a couple of teams at the bottom that were caught adrift a little bit. Edinburgh and Gretna had a sort of battle down. Went down to the final day as well, Fraser. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
Final day of the season, equal points. The two of them played each other, and unfortunately for Edinburgh University, they were the ones relegated, won't be joining us again for next season. But other than those two teams, who weren't even that poor when we saw them play, it'd be a huge discredit to them to say they didn't give us a tough game. Both Gretna and obviously Edinburgh University, I think it was it 4-2?
Yeah, and that was a good game. That was an enjoyable game. Edinburgh University obviously had good players, and again, it was similar to the way the Braves were in the games with East Kilbride. There maybe wasn't much between the Braves and Edinburgh University. There's maybe Edinburgh University were just a little bit shaky at the back, and lacking a bit of and being clinical up top. But in terms of the actual balance of play, again, not much between Edinburgh University and the other teams in the league. It's just the way it was
throughout, though, isn't it? Yeah, and I mean, we'll touch on Edinburgh University there as a team that won't be in the division next season. Just before we sort of jump into the teams that will be, spent quite a bit of time talking with Dorian, of course, who was involved in that programme for a huge chunk of his life and managed them for many years before coming here to be our assistant manager, and we're very lucky to have his skills on our side now. But talking about the programme there were definitely talented players in there, and you watch them play. I think we pinpointed sort of Sammy Raphael and Will Anthony. Another player we noticed a lot was Ryan Murray as well, who was sitting midfield for them, player we noticed there, and he played there for 2 seasons, scored 1 goal, and it was against us as well. And now we're lucky enough to have him signed up as well. So there's certainly talent in every team going throughout the league, though, isn't there?
For sure, for sure. And that's the beauty of the Lowland League. There's a lot of good players out there that are just maybe starting out in their careers, or just looking for an opportunity to make their name again. So great league, and it'll be a great season for sure.
And sort of touching on that, players looking for an opportunity to you know, if they've dropped out from a higher level, coming back in at a young age, keen to kick on again. You do see that a lot, you know, and there's good coaches at this level, of course. I have to give a shout out to our own Ricky Waddle for that, of course, and the way he's helped develop a lot of players. And for anyone that doesn't know the story of, you know, the Braves over the last few seasons, perhaps just to touch on that, is how we've had a really young core. 2 seasons ago, unfortunately, lost a lot of those players, you know, and they've, you know, hopefully gone on to kick on in their careers. You see like a Jamie Walker will have to go up 2 divisions to Celtic Hearts, and he moved full-time to play in Ireland with Dundalk, and a few other players left, and you know, we really wanted to keep that group together. Unfortunately, we weren't able to, but coming into this season, the difference is we started last season off rebuilding, and we've came in this year now, and basically it's the same group. It's been quite an easy job for you, Fraser, being off on your holidays, coming back, and you pretty much know the full squad with just a few sprinklings of additions throughout. Yeah, plenty to look forward to in this sort of next upcoming chapter, but so many opportunities as well, you know, and I'm sure we'll find plenty of occasions to talk about the We Funder campaign, and lots of people listening in will, of course, be with us, you know, from America and coming in for this season, and you know, that's given us the opportunity to enjoy different things. As I'm sure you saw, Fraser, you weren't up there, but up on our weekend away, where I unfortunately did have to abseil off a cliff myself as well. Hopefully the video footage of that isn't going to be found anywhere. I'm looking at you, Adam, our cameraman there. He's got it somewhere. So I'm hoping that footage doesn't come out into the public domain.
I absolutely hope it does.
It wasn't my finest moment, but it was a good experience, and obviously being able to go up to Aviemore, beautiful part of the country, firstly to play a game, which is a great experience, but then to you know, do some team activities, swimming in cold water as well, and you know, abseiling, and then a night out for the lads. I was here, and I won't go into too many details of stories from the night out, but I heard they were in a nightclub where they were serving sausage rolls and pies. So
that's Scotland for you.
That's the experience.
Guys, if you've not experienced sausage rolls in nightclubs in America, then you know where to come. The Highlands of Scotland is the place that will deliver that.
Really meshes all the things you want together. But trips like that, you know, aside from the sausage rolls and the pies, was only made possible really, you know, because of the sport that we funded, you know, and that's such a massive thing. It might feel like a sort of small margin at times, but being able to have this group bonding together and, you know, growing as a team, that's fantastic. And we'll go into a bit more detail, I think, on some of the individuals in the squad. We've touched on a few there, but the first part of this podcast, you know, going on from that introduction there, is going to be looking a little bit at some of our opposition in the Lowland League as well. And we've sort of touched on some of the teams that you might expect to see up at the top end of the table. And we should probably stress here as well, there'll be some opinions coming of me and you, Fraser, maybe not on behalf of the club here, from what we've seen of opposition.
Our opinions are our own.
Opinions are our own here, of course, but we'll do our best to sort of give a rough overview. But I mean, one of the things about the Lowland League, certainly this year, is there's quite a lot of mystery, I think it's fair to say, and we've sort of tried to have a deeper look into who's getting signed where, what's been happening in friendlies. Teams aren't giving too much away this year, so it's not going to be easy to sort of do a detailed breakdown on every single team in the division, but a few names we know will probably be up that end of the table. Certainly, if you were looking at the league from an outside perspective, East Kilbride will be favourite for the league, I'm sure. Once again, if you were doing the numbers for a bookie, I think you'd probably put East Kilbride at the top, wouldn't you, Fraser?
Yeah, I think so. They've got the structure as well. They've got a specific style of play that they like to adopt as well, and they've also got good players. And we've seen last season, obviously they won the league and they came close, just pipped by Stranraer in the playoff game for promotion to the Football League in Scotland.
Just about as well. That was a very close game, and we know how difficult it is to get promoted from this division in the Highland League, having to go through that playoff. The Lowland League team plays the Highland League team. Obviously, they got a buy-in due to sort of unfortunate circumstances. I think you have to say with Bucky, Thistle probably deserved the chance to play that game themselves, but in all fairness, East Kilbride obviously won the league, deserved that shot at promotion, and were up against a good team in Stranraer, and it went to extra time and fine margins. I don't know if you saw the highlights from that game, but had a really good chance. I think it was Balde, one of their younger players. You know, if he puts that toxic opportunity away, he could be talking about East Kilbride getting promoted. That's all the differences between actually winning promotion to the division above and not. And I think those fine margins will be seen once again this season. You know. Yeah,
no, for sure. And there's no doubt they'll be up there. They're playing in the League Cup as well. Playing against good teams, good professional Scottish teams.
I think I want too many mentions of what's happened in the League Cup so far, certainly, after unfortunately an 8-0 loss against Airdrie to kick it off. But
I think with that game, obviously 8-0 I mean, that's like an American football scoring potentially.
A low scoring one.
Yeah, low scoring, but it's getting into those kind of realms. But that's unusual for soccer, for football. But
that's not our word's not been used again here. I'm sorry. Most of our owners are okay with it.
We're international now, Callum. We're international. But yeah, it's unusual. But I think obviously no, you never want to see an 8-0 loss for your team or whatever. But if you look at the stats, they obviously set out to compete, and I think they had pretty much the same amount of possession as Airdrie. Maybe they were just slightly naive in their approach, but they've got a style of play that they play, and it works in the Lowland League, and it will cause problems for teams like the Braves and for everyone in the league. But they've also, it's maybe a bit of an anomaly because I think they took Dumbarton to penalties in the first game of the League Cup, so it's not
they play 2 divisions higher.
Exactly. So they're not being steamrollered by they were steamrollered by Airdrie obviously, but that was just one isolated result. So East Kilbride without a shadow of a doubt. I think they're on the lips of sort of everyone, even in Scottish football. Mick Kennedy, the manager, was obviously found a bit of fame a few years prior, having taken Darvel to the latter stage of the Scottish Cup.
So. This podcast will come out as well after, I think, East Kilbride are playing Aberdeen themselves, so if there is another upset, then we might be biting our words from a few moments ago.
Exactly.
Not too sure, but see what happens in that. But yeah, certainly, and big personality as well, leading the club. Cy Ferry involved as well, and who's obviously a well-known name in Scottish football as well for his podcasting, and you know, as are we, Fraser, of course.
Soon to be, hopefully.
Hopefully, yes. But sort of big characters at the top, and then lots of quality on the pitch as well. They've been able to attract players that have played at a higher level. Just to sort of touch briefly, we don't want to, touch on one team for too long, but East Kilbride are, the team that, you'll see go for the top of the table, obviously after last season's success. So you can look at your Nathan Flanagan's in there, who's a player that I've really enjoyed watching as away from Caledonian Braves as a Rattray Rovers fan as well myself. Seeing him play a few years ago, I thought he was a really dangerous, direct, pacey winger that could probably play a level or two above as well, and fair enough that he's at East Kilbride, and they've also added in Regan Mimnor as well. I think you might have seen Queen of the South, really good League One player as well. These guys have played at a higher level, and it's obviously just going to be if they can work it out. From seeing East Kilbride play a couple of times last season, which a lot of these opinions are just going to be drawn from a 1 or 2 game basis of what we've seen from them last year, because it's difficult to catch too many games in the Lowland League when you're following a club yourself. So, but they played an expansive game of football, sort of that 4-3-3 formation, the wingers getting right up wide and playing out from the back, and maybe what people might consider playing the right way. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Fraser, but I think there's plenty of ways to play an entertaining brand of football. It doesn't always have to be like that, but East Kilbride will be the kind of team that we're going to, I don't want to say live and die by that, but I think they will stick through their philosophy, and it'll be interesting to see if that's successful once again. So hopefully, we can give them a tough game once again, as we did both occasions last season. For sure. Really tight games. We drew away 0-0 at K Park, a game that both teams had chances to win it. Could have went either way in the one here, which was 2-1. I think settled by a penalty, that one as well, wasn't it, Fraser? I think you remember that game. I think we took the lead. That Callum Bradley goal of the season winner in the end. Fantastic. Beautiful loop to finish across, and then they came back to win that in the second half. But it showed again, we were obviously a team in transition, even more so at that time last season. This was November, December time, wasn't it, where we were sort of starting to turn our results a little bit. And we faced East Kilbride, who were flying at the top of the league, and matched them up perfectly. So, yeah, I think, there's nothing really between these teams, and looking away from them as well, other teams you'd possibly, just sort of from our perspective, bit of speculation here and how they performed last season, you've got the likes of Trinent as well, who should be up there. From what we hear, they've added some good quality to their squad as well. Lost Lennon Walker, who's came here, I think could be a bit of a big loss for them, but other than that, Trinent play a good brand of football as well, and a big club with a good following, for Trinent. So do you think there'll be a team that'll be up there as well from what we've seen from them? Yeah,
for sure, and it was similar as what we were saying with East Kilbride. When they came here to Alliance Park, it was a tight game, and the Braves competed really well.
We split both our games with them last season, both draws. So
you could see, like we know for sure, based on last season, they will give the Braves a good game without a shadow of a doubt. They've got good players. We have nicked Lennon Walker from them, who is a fantastic player from from what I've seen. So that's obviously a benefit for us.
As you mentioned, though, they're definitely a team that gave us 2 good games as well. So
yeah, so I, based on that, there's no doubt. And they also did bring a good following. They brought a good following to Alliance Park, so they've
really impressive.
Got a good fan base as well. So I would anticipate they're going to be up there as well. I'm not too sure on the players that they brought in, but I'd imagine they're an ambitious club and they've got aspirations to get promoted. So building on what they've done last season and what they did last season, they'll be up there for sure.
And I think, without wanting to sort of pen teams together here, it's quite easy to sort of look through the division and sort of just group a few of them together, just to maybe help people listening understand better what sort of types of clubs you have in the Lowland League. So I think you can break it down in quite a way, and obviously a big group of clubs that have started to come into division in recent years are clubs that were former junior clubs, so that's why you've got clubs, like that have really good supports, and I enjoyed going to the likes of Bo'ness and Lithgow as well last season, because they've got really, cool football grounds as well, and big supports which they've brought to Alliance Park as well, as you've seen, and that's the sort of backing they need if they do want to kick on to that next level. Because another club I think that's definitely worth touching on is Bo'ness United. Fraser, did you see them play last season?
I didn't.
You didn't see them?
I didn't get a chance to.
But obviously they were competing up at the top end of the league as well. Another club that came up and made a really good impact in the division. Looking through their squad as well, I think they've got one of the players I'd certainly keep an eye out for this season, Kieran Mitchell, who was a player that I'm familiar with from his time at Rafe Rovers, a young player that had played Championship football as well. I'm trying not to let my bias come into it too much, but a young player that had played last season, first day of the year, scored away to Partick Thistle, and then he went out on loan to East Fife as well. So he'd used up his, the rules of football is that you can only play for 2 senior football clubs in the same, or 2 professional football clubs in the same season. So when it got to the stage where he wasn't getting much game time at East Fife, came back to the Rovers, probably wasn't going to play much. He dropped down to the Lowland League. He found himself in the Lowland League with Bo'ness, a club that he'd been on loan at previously, and he gave us a really good game as well. I thought when we were up against Bo'ness last time out, when we were away to the narrow defeat we suffered last time we faced Bo'ness, but another team that play a good brand of football, bright, right at the right end of the league. It'll be interesting how they build on last season if they're able to, because there's so many ambitious clubs I think at this level. That's the key. And sort of another club somewhat similar in that part of the world, junior club, Lithgow Rose as well. They weren't quite as high up the table last season, but I think with the support they've got, a well-known junior club. Fraser, I don't know if you know too much about junior ranks football yourself, if you want to sort of touch on them at all.
I mean junior football in Scotland previously until quite recently was massive, and obviously a lot of the clubs have a long-standing history. We've got clubs like Cumnock and Auchinleck Talbot, obviously, that have thousands of fans. And Lithgow Rose is one of those teams as well. It's got a proud history and a good fan backing. They obviously, again, I feel like the sort of the theme of this podcast is that every team that we're talking about competed with the Braves, and it was tight games, but again it was tight games last season between the Braves and Lithgow Rose, so fully expect again that they'll be a difficult outfit for the Braves to come up against, and they'll have ambitions as well with their proud history and their fan base. They'll have ambitions to push for promotion too.
Broxburn Athletic coming up as well for next season. Obviously not a club I know all too much about myself as well. Looking forward to seeing them and welcoming them to the division next season. Another exciting addition and joining these sort of ranks of clubs that have came up. But coming the other way, we then have quite a few teams in the division. So that's that group of teams. We've got quite a few teams that came down the way as well. Which is obviously part of football. It's always going to be that one of the good things about the pyramid is we can go up, but teams will come back down. And I think a lot of clubs, it's fair to say, have found the Lowland League difficult when they've landed in it.
Oh, I mean, for sure, and the nature of the Lowland League and the sort of pyramid structure, it's not made easy for teams to make it out this league. There's 18 teams in the league, and only one can
have the chance to
have. Yeah, exactly. It's only a chance, and even then, if you win the league, you've got a sort of playoff for then the playoff final. So it's not easy. The odds are stacked against every team in this league to get out. So it's not a league that teams from the professional leagues want to drop into, because they know there's good teams down here. There's ambitious teams. Every single team in this league is ambitious. So it's a bit, almost kind of a trapdoor. If a team comes down, it's difficult. They might lose a little bit of revenue in coming down. Obviously from League Two in Scotland. So it's hugely difficult. That's what makes it one of the most interesting leagues in the country, because it's so probably evenly balanced, and the chance to go up is there, but it's slim. So the margins are small.
You know, unfortunately, you look at the bottom half of the table last season, and a lot of clubs were sort of pushing more towards that side. Not really in relegation trouble, but obviously East Stirlingshire, one of these clubs that have been down for a bit longer than the other ones, and you know,
famously managed by Sir Alex Ferguson.
Not currently.
Not currently. But back in the day. So this is the history that these clubs have.
Yeah.
East Stirlingshire is where Sir Alex Ferguson cut his teeth as a manager. So that just goes to show. Cowdenbeath as well has got a huge history. They played in the Scottish Championship as recently as 2013,
10 years ago.
10 years ago. And that was the second division in Scotland. And they're now in this league. So it just shows you the difficulty that these big clubs, these famous Scottish clubs, have had since coming down. Yeah,
I think you've seen a few of them trying to do something to help them bounce back a little bit more. Cowdenbeath brought in some really good players last season as well, including our very own Zach Butterworth and Callum again, because he left us to go to them and came back again. And you know, there was ambition there. Things maybe didn't quite work out. I think you've seen a few of the clubs trying to do stuff. Berwick Rangers as well, you know, a club with a huge, long history as well, you know, proud. I think they were playing League One football just a few years ago themselves as well, and a couple of relegations by themselves.
The only English team in the Scottish Pyramids.
English team in Scotland, yeah, exactly. Good fact there as well, yeah. Got to throw that one in. And they've got quality though. They've got, you know, I think Liam Buchanan will be back for next season as well, I think, who's
good player.
An unbelievably experienced striker. I think it's fair to say anyone that follows lower league Scottish football will be familiar with Liam Buchanan from his exploits.
Goal scorer,
Championship, League One, League Two. So there's quality in these teams, but a lot of them were pushing down towards the sort of lower half of the table. So I'd be interested to see if they are able to bounce back. They do have good fan bases, and some of my favourite grounds to visit, because you know the history when you're there as well. Same with Albion Rovers, who were relegated into division last year. A team of good quality as well. We were really impressed by the Knights of Nia Joseph. Last season I thought he was a really good player, and then obviously Joe Bevan as well was sort of a headline catcher with his move to Burnley, all the way in the Premier League, which tells you there's always scouts watching somewhere as well. So I think, you know, I've touched on all the clubs that have came down there, I hope anyway. So great history of these clubs, and you know, there is the chance that they could kick on. We don't really know what to expect. That's how we sort of kicked off this podcast by saying there's quite a bit of mystery around a lot of the clubs, but yeah, real history to be found in these clubs and stories to tell throughout the season when we face them, I'm sure.
Exactly.
And the next group of clubs we'll go into is a bit of a smaller one, just two clubs in this one. I'm sure you know Celtic B and Hearts B as well, who are additions that we've had in recent years as well. Hearts B, a team that really impressed us, obviously the B team of Heart Midlothian, two big clubs in the Premiership. Rangers formerly had a B team in the division which was withdrawn, but Hearts played, I think you were saying before when we were chatting, some of the best football we've probably seen as well from a team at this level.
Yeah, so with a bit of background with the B teams, it's a controversial topic within Scottish football.
Is this where we say opinions are our own as well?
Yeah, and I actually don't know where I kind of, like, I think it's a good addition, but you can see the sort of argument is why should, you know, a team, one of the big teams, why should they get the opportunity to have their B teams in a league where other teams are fighting hard to get in there.
Yeah, it's very difficult to get into this division as well.
I mean, you can see the argument that other teams might have, but also you can see the benefit in that you're getting young players are getting the chance to play men's senior football that they might not otherwise get to do. Maybe it's sort of perpetuating the issue in Scottish football where the bigger teams don't have or aren't willing to let their younger players sort of try or cut their teeth in the Premierships. So maybe that's another issue there, but certainly I've enjoyed their contribution to the league because I thoroughly enjoyed watching Hearts be, as you said, last season against the Braves here at Alliance Park. They play football the right way. They've got good players, and you can see the pathway as well. We were discussing is you can see the players, they play for Hearts B, and then maybe a few weeks or a few months later you see them in the Hearts A squad.
You have started to see a bit of that coming through at Hearts, which is, you know, if you're going to be on the other side of the argument of the B teams, there hasn't been much of that really in recent years. The first year of the Hearts programme, they weren't doing as well as they did last year, and then you look at Celtic. There's not been all too many. There's quite a few talented, good names in there, but a lot of them have gone on to leave Celtic already, or sort of have loan spells in the Championship and stuff like that. Not really kick on. There's not been that many players coming through at Celtic, but I think you then see Hearts, and there have been some players coming through as well in the adverse. So certainly a team that played good football as well, and I think Mackenzie Kirk is a player that really impressed last year. The goals he scored, and he's got a chance to go out on loan at a higher level, and just have a chance to play men's football. That's what it's about, and I think Hearts went away to Celtic last season and won at Celtic Park, and a couple of lads that played in that game had been playing Lowland League football just the season before, as of course had their manager as well, Stephen Naismith, managing the B team just the year before, and he's gone into the A team job, former Scotland international Stephen Naismith of course, and he's done a really, really good job there as well. So it shows you that what this level can do. Currently coached by Liam Fox as well, who was managing Dundee United in the Premiership just the year before. So I don't know if he's sort of on audition for the A job if it ever comes up like Stephen Naismith, but
I mean he could well be though, and you see that in a lot of clubs that have got these pathways. They've got, I mean, like the England national team, you had Gareth Southgate, under-21 manager, promoted to first team manager, and Hearts might have that. You can see that they've got a style of play, and it was good to watch. It was stressful at times because it put a lot of pressure on the Braves, but it was pretty on the eye. They had good patterns. They were well structured. They were good and strong in defence, but they were slick. They played football mostly on the deck, but they were quick as well. The players were clearly well drilled and athletes. So they've clearly got a sort of a philosophy and a structure. And if that's what Hearts are trying to sort of implement throughout the club, then maybe you might see Liam Fox. And he's got that experience as well, having managed Dundee United. So it would be a massive surprise that if Stephen Naismith were to move on, which it doesn't look likely because he's doing such a good job.
That is pure speculation.
That is pure speculation, yeah. But if he were to, you can see they've got that sort of that structure in the club, that set up that he could feasibly assume the role of head coach at Hearts. So they bring something different.
He's a good Ray Throwers man as well, Liam Fox.
Do they exist?
But so that's sort of a touch on Hearts then. Before we move on from the B teams as well, just briefly touch on Celtic. So last year Hearts pushed a bit higher up the league, kind of team that could beat any team in the division and possibly blow away a lot of teams in the division on the day, but also have games where you don't know what you're going to get from them. And Celtic possibly say the same as well, but struggled a bit further down the division. But there is quality there as well, and it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. They've got a very good coaching team there as well, Darren Addy, and the sort of likes they're doing around that team. And I was going to just say as well, you first-hand saw, Celtic B's first choice goalkeeper come straight into your team, Ayr United, in the Championship, and not look out of place at all from what you've said to me.
Yeah, good goalkeeper. Clearly he's young as well. Sort of fits the profile of a Braves player almost. I think he's 19, maybe.
You have to remind me of his name as well.
Josh Clark.
Josh Clark, that was it, yeah.
So good young player. Didn't, as an Ayr United fan as well as a Braves fan, hadn't heard much about him before he came in, and Ayr United had a good goalkeeper, so it was a bit of a surprise when he came in. But he came in and immediately sort of assumed the number one position, and he was good. He was a good goalkeeper, safe pair of hands. And actually, Ayr United played Celtic in a pre-season friendly only a few weeks ago, and he came on and was in goal for Celtic in that game. So he's obviously, he's cut his teeth in the Lowland League.
Yeah.
He's had a chance to ply his trade in the Championship. He's now maybe, he won't. Celtic have just made a very high profile signing in Kasper Schmeichel, and they're also signed an ex-Ayr United goalkeeper in Viljami Sinisalo.
So I'm playing at Hampden not too long ago for the national team. Yeah.
So they've obviously got a sort of succession plan as well for when Kasper Schmeichel moves on, but he's there. He's obviously in the conversation. He got minutes under Brendan Rodgers. So whether or not they'll look to loan him out, or whether he'll continue playing with Celtic B, I'm not sure. But it does show you though that from getting the minutes for Celtic B in the Lowland League against good opposition like the Braves, that you'll get, and these players can get and will get opportunities at teams like Ayr United, or maybe even in the Premiership.
I think it just does show that the difference isn't always that big between playing in the fifth tier, the second tier. The quality can mesh really well, and that bodes well. So moving away from the B teams, then we've got a few other clubs we can touch on as well. A club I've always, a team or a university, I should say, possibly, that I've always, watched out for as part of the alumni myself. University of Stirling, a team that themselves have had some really successful seasons in this division. It is tough, obviously, on them, the way they lose quality. Yeah. So the University of Stirling, they've got a really good program in place where guys can come in and do a degree. Stirling are huge on their sports. I wasn't very good in that program myself, but I was in the five-a-side football league. I did my best, but obviously they bring in guys of real quality to get a degree and come out and play. And you've seen just this summer, Cammy McKinley, one of their wingers, really good player, make the step up a division. Stirling Albion, Ben McKeever-Edward, a player we're impressed with a lot. He's gone up 2 divisions to Montrose. So it is tough on their manager, Chris Geddes, to be able to retain these players. Obviously, understandable they're going to move on with their careers, and a lot of turnover this summer as well. I know they've lost the goalkeeper and a few other players around. So they always seem to find a way to bring some players in, and they've got international scouting as well at the University of Stirling, and they can bring players in from a wide net. And best of luck for them from an outside perspective. For the season to come, and it'll be interesting to see how they sort of bounce back. But obviously, a club that play a good style of football, and I think Chris, their head coach, has got a lot of similar qualities to like a Ricky does here. Where he's a really good coach and will focus on that, but also sort of has his fingers in a lot of different areas of the club, and bringing players in, and really is a guy that everything sort of goes through him, because he works on a full-time basis obviously with the university and the program going on there, and a lot of talent coming through there, Fraser.
Yeah, for sure. And that's we were obviously earlier talking about the Braves and that sort of the project that we're able to implement here with sort of blood players, and you've got the project and establishing a style of play for teams like University of Stirling. Obviously, just the nature of the fact that it's students that are playing for the team. That's maybe a little bit more difficult. But the flip side of that is that when they lose these players, when they graduate or they move on, they're also bringing new players in. So there's an element of mystery and surprise with Stirling, and they will be good players. They will bring in quality, and so we don't know quite what to expect and who's maybe who they'll bring in, but we know
quite a common theme, I think, throughout.
Yeah, exactly. But particularly with University of Stirling, maybe with other clubs you might know, they'll be within the sort of Scottish football sort of pyramid. But University of Stirling, as you say, could be bringing in players from abroad. So exciting, but they certainly, there's no doubt about it. McIver-Redwood, fantastic big striker that I think. First 5 minutes of having watched him, I could see that
quality immediately.
And he's got that mould of a modern striker, tall, physical, but quick as well, and technical. So not surprised at all that he moved on to a team like Montrose. But with the University of Stirling, they will compete and they will be good, and they've got a fantastic facilities and structure there as well. So they'll cause us and the rest of the Lowland League problems for sure. Yeah, and sort of just a couple of years ago they were competing up the right end of the table as well, after being sort of maybe a bit more mid-table sort of for years.
really had a kick where, there was almost a point where they were looking, could they, make a dart at the league a couple of years ago, and then lost a lot of those players. James Berry, the likes as well, really impressive player. Scored a lot of goals from midfield as well for a player that can control the game, moved to Stenhouse, players like him they replaced last year, and obviously they're going to have to do that again this year, and it'll be interesting to see what they shape up like, and if they're at the top end of the table. But a club that I would personally wouldn't be shocked to see up at the right end of the table this coming year is Cumbernauld Colts as well. A club that I was probably going to touch on a bit earlier in this before we sort of went off on the junior club section of this. Cumbernauld Colts, a team that competed right at the top end of the table last year. I think they're a really strong, well-organised, well-oiled team that all played together, that maybe wasn't, I wouldn't sort of watch them play and pinpoint, oh, he's this, he's that, but I thought they were just really a unit of a team. Possibly the best team, all due respect to East Kilbride, who were the champions. From seeing teams play against the Braves, I possibly thought Cumbernauld Colts were possibly the best team that I'd seen. They lost 2 big players as well, and the McLaren brothers who have rocked up here. Connor's looked fantastic with his goals in pre-season, and Reg, a real force up front as well, so I'm sure they'll look to put the pressure on at the top end of the table. Looking throughout the division as well, because I feel that we have spoke about the clubs quite a bit of time here. At the other end of the table, of course, Gretna, 2008, tough season for them last year. Around the bottom 2, it can be difficult to get drawn into that. They'll be looking to bounce back. I've seen they've brought in a number of new players, a new coaching team there as well, I do believe. So it'll be interesting to see if they can bounce back in all due respect as well. They gave us some really tough games last season, so it'll be interesting to see what they're like this coming season. A club with a lot of history as well in their former, what would you sort of say, former state when they were just as Gretna when got to the Scottish Cup final. And had to reform in 2008 due to financial issues, but good for them. They've got a team that can play at this level, and really, really enjoyed the games against Gretna. That is known as the Kettle Derby as well, Fraser. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I didn't know that, actually, no.
To give the backstory of that one a little bit, it's not the most incredible story, but I think we played the game against Gretna a number of years ago, and it was very, very cold, and they needed to get the kettle on. So the kettle derby,
the most British stereotype of all time there.
So if anyone sees on the social media who's ready for the kettle derby, it's because it gets very cold in Gretna, and there wasn't a kettle available. I've been told on good authority. Looking throughout the division elsewhere, I think we've touched on most clubs now. We've got civil service strollers as well. Really good, well-organised team. Possibly the best name in
up there.
Scottish football. Up there, definitely is. We had Forest Mechanics already.
Forest Mechanics,
that's a great
I'm a
name
big fan
well.
of Forest Mechanics as well. But civil service strollers, it just rolls off the tongue.
Difficult to top that, and a good football team as well. One of the toughest stadiums to go to. Just every time, I've seen us play there last couple of seasons. Been a tough, sticky game. Conrad Ballatoni was a big player for them the last couple of seasons. I'll be honest, I've not looked at their squad for this coming season just yet, but experienced defender in the heart of their back line, and they're a club that gave us some tough games, well supported as well. Brilliant name, as you've mentioned already.
Fantastic.
And another club with a good name as well, because I think we have gone through the entire division, apart from one team now. I feel like I don't want to miss anyone out, no disrespect to any clubs, but...
just before you do that, I think I know who you're going to go for there, but I don't think we quite touched on Broomhill, but...
Oh, we did miss Broomhill as well, on top of my list there, yeah.
But again, they'll provide a big challenge, and they were good last season. They've obviously gone through a transition period from, they were open goal, Broomhill, under Cy Ferry, as we touched on earlier. But again, good team, good structure, and they'll look to compete as well. Yeah, possibly I think more mid-table team from last season as well. But again,
I think they've had quite a bit of change as well. You know, off the park and with players as well that coming into this season. So it'll be interesting to see how they set up. Good team, good club as well. And I think last year was really important for them just to restructure and find their balance, find their identity as a club again. Because I really enjoyed my trip there. Everyone was brilliant with us. At Broomhill. After what was
nice local,
a bit of a whirlwind sort of year for them. Well, local to Dumbarton now, but yeah, really nice club, good people there, and to push them off the season. But that does bring us on to, which I hope is the final team for real this time.
I think so, yeah.
They're very well named as well, Gala Ferrydean Rovers, who I thought we'd save them for last, because that will be our first opposition. And unfortunately, I haven't got too many insights to give on Gala Ferrydean Rovers looking ahead to this season.
I do.
Do you?
Yeah, they're going to lose their first game of the season.
We had it here first,
guaranteed. 4-0, I think.
Hopefully.
Jack McDowell overhead kick. in the 90th minute just to round it off. So that's my insight that I can offer.
That would be, if that comes off, then...
I don't know if you have any other insight, but...
Well, I mean, I was just going to say we did have a couple good results against Caledonian Rovers last year. Right at the end of the year, possibly one of our most convincing away performances. We put in 3-0, where Christian scored that goal with his left foot.
Worldy.
Long way out.
Goal, yeah.
So, can't say too much about them. I was sort of asking the coach team a little bit to them as well. It's not too much known as well. You know, it's just going to be wait and see what they're about. A club that sort of floated around the mid to lower sort of end of the table last season. But again, we've mentioned any team in this division can beat anyone. So it'll be a good game, I'm sure, next week. But that sort of rounds up the Lowland League preview part of this podcast, Fraser. So
nice and succinct. We covered that in good detail, I think.
And so, Fraser, for the next part of this podcast, then we're going to have a quick look at the Caledonian Braves squad in a bit more detail, and then we've got a few sort of fun questions to come at the end as well. So, looking through the Braves squad this year, as we say, there's been a lot of retention, and I'm not sure what the best way to do this is, starting from back to front. So, I'm going to let you choose now, Fraser. Do you want to go through the team from back to front, or do you want to go through the team, new signings, and how that sort of adds into what we've got?
Will we introduce new signings?
New signings first, okay. Yeah. So, basically, the players we had come in, we've touched briefly already. We had a ton of trialists last year. It was a really sort of big turnover. I think 40 odd players pretty much felt like we're around the club this year. Come into this season, though, that's not been the case. We had players signed up, day one pre-season training, bang, ready to go. And that group was probably, you know, topped off, no disrespect to any of the other players, just because he's a returning player, by Zach Butterworth. So, Fraser, I know you weren't at the club when he was in his first spell. Thankfully, I got to see him play for about 6 months, and Zach is right winger first and foremost, play on the left as well, but he is absolutely dynamite. Sort of, if you ever want an out ball, I think Zach's that kind of player where he gets the ball, takes on his man, drives a bit, and you've seen a bit of him in friendlies already. Yeah,
I saw him last season as well.
Oh, Callum, of course, yeah.
The blue, white and red of Godden.
The blue Brazil.
The blue Brazil.
The blue Brazil, yeah.
And I knew of his quality before I even saw him kick a ball because of your love for him.
Stop talking about Zach Butterworth, yeah.
This man has admiration for Zach Butterworth and his footballing ability. Great player. He was brilliant against the Braves last season at Alliance Park. He caused issues.
Oh yeah. I think one of the few times Robbie Stewart's had to I think that I say this fully to the credit of Robbie more than anything. I think one of the few times I saw Robbie have a difficult afternoon was against Zach.
Exactly.
He's that kind of player, yeah.
Dynamic player, quick, technical, everything you want in that sort of modern winger, attacking midfielder. And I saw him against Callum as well, juniors.
Yep.
And actually, he made me look fantastic because I said in commentary he's likely to get the first goal or contribute to the first goal, and 5 seconds later he slipped a pass through and assisted for the first goal of the game. So he is just fantastic. A brilliant player. I'm excited to see him this season.
I think he's an obvious name to look out for on the wing, but you know, he's not the only attacker that's came in. Obviously last season I think we had the equal third best defensive record in the league in the end, which was very impressive. And absolutely nothing against any of the players we had last season. There were some really talented individual players in there. Maybe things just didn't quite have the same, mesh, like final third decision making, and hopefully that's what we've sort of added in this year. Little sprinklings of quality for decision making, adding to some of the attackers we had last year that stayed on. Some real quality out there as well already, but Zach's going to come in on that right wing, I'm sure, and just burst of energy, play on the left cut inside if he needs to as well, as we've seen with Cammy Bredner as well at times. And another wing that's came in that's really impressed me already is Conor McLaren as well, as you've mentioned, scored that first goal against Caledonian, 2 more goals on Tuesday night as well. One of them was a sort of, was it a shot? Was it a cross? It was a shot. It was definitely a cross. I asked the gaffer after the game and he said immediately, that was a cross, he's not getting that. So, but also as well as that, he scored a really good free kick. And he's quite an interesting wing. He seems like the type that's really ball to feet, cut inside. I was watching him play on Tuesday and he was playing like a number 10 half the game anyway, so he's going to come in and add technical quality. I believe a futsal player as well. So it's got qualities
it's
in
not
that.
Enough futsal players in football.
So you'll see him on the wing and he gets the ball and just that really tidy. I play 5-side football with a guy that does it, and they just seem to have that little thing where they get the ball and instead of just controlling it normally, a little ball roll, little Ronaldo chop.
That's quality.
I love seeing it. It's very silky. So I'm looking forward to seeing Conor play a lot this year. And as well as him, you've got his brother Reg as well, who's a striker. a player maybe add someone a little bit different to what we've got from Ross McNeil, who's just sort of getting in and about, wiry, in the box, fox in the box kind of poacher. But I know you always laugh when I say that. But Reg comes in and immediately you just look at him and you can see the size he's got on him, and he can bully a defender, and you know, he's going to start, has those qualities where he can win his flick-ons, but brilliant option. If he, for example, wasn't starting, you need him for the final 15 minutes as well.
Yeah. And also exciting, I think Ricky quite often, I think towards the end of the game, likes to maybe, if they need a goal, mix up the formation, go two up top. So to see Ross and Reg together, interesting to see how
and
that
Josh
might
in
work.
that mix as well.
Josh as well, of course. So he's got options, and I think any good team, any successful team in football, you would want 3 strikers maybe. That
sort of a nice mix.
Come in and start. They bring different.
They all have different qualities, which we'll touch on the other two a bit more soon. But Reg, player, good size, and he'll come on, and you've seen that already pre-season friendlies. He's been really dangerous, as well as that another attacker that's came in that's certainly caught our eye already is Lennon Walker, who's
I'm
really
excited to watch him.
Diminutive, got a little drop of the shoulder, turn of pace. I think he can sort of float out of the game and then sort of sting in. And we've seen that already as well, haven't we?
Yeah, he's got that sort of mould of a number 10, sort of the classic, sort of small, good feet, technical, quick thinking. And again, he was in the game against Callum, he was alert. He was, and the link up between him and Zach Butterworth was exciting.
So he was playing in that number 10 position, right in the pocket, wasn't he?
Yeah, and you can see also he's got the qualities that I think he probably could. You know, Zach and Lennon wanted to sort of switch just because
and Connor as well.
And Connor as well, or Cammy, whoever's playing in that front line. I think, and we've talked about it before in commentary, that I think Ricky obviously likes these players that have got that fluidity, that they're attacking minded players, but they've got the technical ability that they can, they drift out wide or they can drift inside, in the mould of a Phil Foden almost.
Yeah.
But I think it's quite evident that Lennon Walker's got that. The chemistry that he's obviously already got with players like Zach and Cammy is exciting. I think a big season for him as well.
So I think he's going to come in and add real quality. I remember the first time I saw him was actually one of my first ever Caledonian Braves games a couple of years ago, and I was standing up in the gantry watching, and Bowness in the cup he was on loan at, and he was absolutely dynamite against us. He was on loan from Falkirk, I think at the time. He was Dundee United previously, on loan from Falkirk. Picked up the ball on the right, got inside, hit a shot which cut across the goal. Can't remember if it was Bernie White in goal then or not, but brilliant finish. And I watched that and I was like, yeah, that boy's, he's a player. He's a player. And obviously I must have an eye for a player, because Ricky as well, from what I've heard, has had a few conversations with Lennon in the past, really wanted to get him into the club as well, and the fact we were able to do that, thanks obviously massive part to the WE Funder, and that shows the progress we're making, and a huge addition to the squad, Lennon, as well. So he's going to be really exciting to watch as well. Take one step back into midfield a bit deeper. Ryan Murray, who we touched on in the first half of this podcast, his time at Edinburgh, midfielder, really good quality as well. And then I think he can mesh well with John or Kristen, whoever he's going to play with, and look to add that sort of
good player. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but when he was playing for Edinburgh University, he played at fullback a little bit in parts of the game.
I think he might have done as well. I believe he's left-footed, so I think he's sort of gone out there naturally midfield, and I think that's where we'll see him the most. But
and I remember he caught the eye without a shadow of a doubt. A clearly smart player, knows the game well, tactically astute.
Well, he's 19 years old as well, though. He started playing men's football at 17 at Edinburgh University.
Right, okay. 2
brilliant seasons, obviously for him, cutting at that level and come straight in 19 with
Did he have
experience.
the captain's armband at Edinburgh University?
I'm not entirely sure on that.
Maybe he didn't, but he played like a captain. He had that authority, and from memory, I think he did play part. If he drifted to sort of full back, but also played in midfield, and he's got passing range. He's tenacious. He's a good player. Clearly well drilled, well organised player. So yeah, he's a great addition, because we've got without a doubt we've got the flair players, but
you need that
balance,
energy behind it, and that's what we've got in midfield. You've got players that shuffle and get into those areas, and the press is important for us, and transitional moments as well, so key without going too sort of deep into that, But we're a time team that can get you on the counter press, obviously, and you know, I was actually over listening Ricky's tactical analysis meeting with the whole squad yesterday, so I've got some buzzwords to use now. Counter press, or, you know, I won't go into the details too much, but you know, those transitions of play, getting back in, that's something that's, you know, you can obviously see we can get in and defend when we need to, get into a really good shape, and that midfield in front, key work, shuffling side to side, and that's most of our additions outfield, and that can kind of give us a nice way to branch back to the rest of the team by starting with our final new signing. Carl King as well comes in to give some good competition to Barney. I think we've mentioned this before, the gaffer mentioned that, absolutely no disrespect to our two backup options we had last year, Connor and Adam, both really good goalkeepers, good guys. I think Carl's possibly just a little bit closer to Barney, and he'll push him a bit further for that number 1 shirt, which is definitely up to be won. That green shirt up there's there to be won this season. I think Barney, you'll see him in goal to start off with, but Carl comes in, really good goalkeeper, seen that in the balance game, the training games already, I should say, in training, good with the ball at his feet, and that's not to say Barney isn't, but sort of a different option as a goalkeeper, which is seems to be quite important in the modern day as well. I thought a goalkeeper was there just to make saves, but there's a lot to it.
Not anymore. No, and that is key, because again, if you look at any good team around the world as well, Arsenal have got 2 quality goalkeepers, Man City have got quality goalkeepers, Celtic have just signed 2 themselves. Yeah. So yeah, there's gone are the days where you'd have a sort of an out and out number 1. Bernie, without a shadow of a doubt, he's earned that. He's earned the number 1 jersey, and he is fantastic. But maybe Ricky's just looking, you know, there might be different, you know, a goalkeeper for different scenarios. Bernie is world class shot stopper and that thing, brilliant. But you've got Kyle coming in, if he's good with the ball at his feet, maybe in a game that Ricky expects the Braves to dominate possession and wants to build from the back more, then Kyle might be able to come in games where Ricky might expect to be under the cosh a little bit more, and we need a good shot stopper. Bernie can come in. I don't know, I've not spoken to Ricky on that, but that could be the thinking behind that, and it is good just having the more quality you can have in a squad, the better. And there's no doubt Kyle will come in, push Bernie, Bernie will push Kyle.
Carl was with Elgin last year, the division above, you know, had some experience playing League 2 football as well, so certainly got a good pedigree, and he'll push Bernie well, which I think is so important to a goalkeeper. You know, you look back to Bernie's first season with the club, not last season, the season before, where he came in midway through the year, and you know, he wasn't starting at first, and he had to win that number 1 shirt, and had a bit of back and forth for our goalkeeper Chris at the time, and sort of the 2 of them pushed each other, and obviously Bernie won that number 1 shirt and kicked on last year, and was, you know, arguably our player of the year. I think he came second in voting for that, so really good season for him. Bernie, American goalkeeper, going to a story. There's a whole podcast with Bernie if anyone wants to check that out, but and a reel of saves to enjoy. So what more can we say about Bernie White? Great goalkeeper, you know, and in front of him he's got a settled defence as well. I think it's fair to say that we've got you know, sort of a core of 4, plus Dan McDowell as well. It'd be a bit unfair not to mention him in that sort of core of 4 at times. It was him and Dan in the middle. So go through that quickly. We've got Robbie Stewart. I'm going to have to ask you, Fraser, please keep your praise for Robbie Stewart brief, because I know you could talk for the next hour. You're a massive Robbie Stewart fan. 18 years old, a left back though. You can hardly tell what a player he is.
Yeah, he's going places.
With the Braves.
And if it's not with the Braves, it's with Celtic or Rangers or whoever. He is a player. So he's young, but it doesn't look like he's inexperienced at all. He's got a season now of experiences at Scotland internationals for the Scotland schoolboys. But again, we talk so much about the modern player now, and fullbacks are key to. They're probably more involved with it in the game than they were in the past. They're all more attack minded. Robbie's got both attributes in attack and defence. He's quick, he can get up and down, he can whip a good ball in, but he's also very defensive.
I think first and foremost, that's just something he's never been outplaced doing, you know. I think Robbie almost possibly long term as well, and I've heard this, and you know, you can certainly see the profile where, you know, if he plays at a high level, that he could almost be like a left-sided centre-back as well, because he's got the size, the strength, ball-playing ability, where he'd be able to do that at a high level. But for us at left-back, getting up, getting crosses in, defensively solid, and age of 18, you never know. He's got a great defence alongside him, partnership, Dan Martins, big, powerful defender. You know what you get from him every game. Our only player to play in every single match last season, and I think he's sort of found a bit more of a home here. He's been at a lot of clubs at a young age and really settled in here. You can really imagine the team without Dan in it now. Wins every header that comes into the box, and sort of a bit of a unicorn player next to him at times. Is that sort of fair to say, Greg Stewart? I mean, even the new lads coming in, I've heard some of them. I was having a chat with one of the new signings, I can't remember who it was now, but they were talking about Greg and just being like, he is genuinely so unique in a good way, like unbelievable way, where he's so comfortable on the ball and he does this thing apparently where he can put his arm across. You see him do it when he's playing and brush his man off, keep hold of it, because that's the qualities he's got from naturally being a central midfielder. And we've seen him play number 10. And I think it was actually Reg McLaren that was saying the fact he can drop in and play number 10 and score goals there.
Yeah, he's a
now he's
player.
At centre back and he's not put foot wrong.
Yeah.
It's just like it makes it look so easy. The fact he's just slotted into a new position, and that's what he is. He's a centre back now. I've moved him officially into the defensive slot on the website. Yeah. He's listening to the defenders now. So
I don't think he is a centre back. I think he's just a football player.
I think he is a centre back. My opinion. I think you'll see.
The viewers and listeners will probably have heard us ranting about how much we appreciate and love watching Greg Stewart, because and I think I agree. I think I prefer seeing him at centre back because he's got the game in front and he's just so calm. And again, modern football player in the mould of a player like John Stones. Yeah, he can step into midfield if he needs to. Tall, he's athletic, but he's so calm on the ball. I don't think I've ever seen him. It doesn't look like he sweats. But he'll just shuffle across. He reads the place.
I sweat when he's on the ball sometimes. I don't know why. I should trust him, but he can take those risks.
So I put my feet up when he's got the ball. I know if an attacker's running through and Greg's, it's a 50-50. He's winning it. But he's got the technical ability as well, which is just so good to see. But he can play in midfield or up front as well. So a brilliant player and really, really useful for the team.
And then our final player in that central defensive core as well, who definitely can't be forgotten about at all, is Jack McDowell, because he unfortunately has had really bad luck with injuries the last year. But he had a spell where I think it was around the time you started coming along to the games where he was an absolute rock at the back, 6'6" of Jack McDowell, eye for a goal. I think 20 games he played last year in a nice little spell where he came back from one injury. Unfortunately missed the rest of the season again afterwards, and he's just back now. Brilliant to see him in action on Tuesday night, and we'll probably be getting a few catch-ups with him as well pretty soon to talk about his injury and catch up on that. But real good player, good relationship with Dan as well, and I think the three of them, you're going to see really good competition if Jack can keep himself fit, because that's the big thing for him, big challenge, and he's obviously more than capable of that. But 20 games last year as well, I think he scored about 5 goals, 6 goals, which is, may not sound too many, but from centre-back, if you're getting a goal every 4 games, that's very useful as well. And I think Ricky's always said he thinks Jack could do even more, be more aggressive and get more goals. So great option in there. So that's our central defensive core. Right back, we've got a ever steady, reliable. You never have to worry about right back with Jack Brown playing there, do you? So he's one of our longest serving players as well.
Even turned his hand to centre back during a few of the.
He can do that, and he's played left back. He started left back on Tuesday, so I think he's that sort of quality player. But you do forget he's really young as well, as all these players are. You sort of forget 20. Well, I think our entire back line will be 23 years and younger, which is crazy to say for the quality they have. And Jack's another one where there's only so much you can say on him. He's just so steady every week. Good going forward, good defending, happy from the slot at the centre back, really good player. So no worries there. And then sort of supporting them as well, we've got Martin MacArthur, a young fullback who's impressed at times as well. Captain the under-20s last year, who had good competition. And then sort of a nice transition to move up the park as well as Aidan Clougherty, who is naturally a right back, one of our young players. Came into the club as a fullback. We saw him last season, left wing, right wing. Now we've got a few more options up there. I don't know if you'll see Aidan maybe a bit more at right back as well, supporting Jack. Backup option, Martin can play left back as well, so there's good sort of versatile options here. And Aidan's a player that definitely caught the eye a lot of the time last season in an advanced area.
Yeah, I definitely. He caught the eye for a number of reasons. His bright boots.
TN boots as well.
Caught our eye, but fantastic player, dynamic as well. And I think it's a common theme with the Braves. Don't know if it's a conscious decision by Ricky and the team, but most players can play in multiple positions. Aidan Clougherty can play right back, right wing back, left right. Yeah, exactly. Left wing, right midfield.
I think he played left back in the bounce game last week as well. Filling in where I need to. Yeah.
So they've got. It just shows they're technically proficient. Good players, but they've also you know, if needed, he can play. They're adaptable, so it's great. And he's a very good player and scores. He gets his name in the score sheet as well.
Gets himself in the box, yeah. And then moving ahead, I think we're going to touch on these boys a bit more in a minute as well when we get to our questions at the end. But midfield, 3 really good options. We've mentioned Ryan already. Then you've got Christian and John, sort of 3 really solid options. Cover all the ground. John Guthrie is just what you want in a captain, isn't he? He has all those qualities that you could ask for, and some. As well as that, they'll be supported by Enzo Wright, young midfielder you've not seen because he unfortunately missed all last season with injury, but a guy that's always got a smile on his face last year despite that. Comes in, he's, you know, I think what they said, you throw a stick for a dog and it will chase. Enzo's a bit like that when he plays, he's at it all the time, constantly, and great to see him back as well pre-season. He's been filling in at right back as well, new position to him. You know, just as you mentioned there, showing the versatility. I spoke to him and recently said he never actually played right back, he was just put in there and sort of enjoyed it. He played right mid before, so sort of not too big a difference. So he'll come in, good to see him back. Midfield as well, we've got Kean Spears, possibly more of a number 10 as well, but we've seen him drop into that number 8 roles. We did Scott Kuzik, who's unfortunately departed the club. He'll be a miss, but someone like Kean, someone that, you know, Scott's away, that Kean maybe even more opportunity for him to impress because he's really a player that catches the eye at times, isn't he?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Great player, technical, good in tight spaces, quick. So yeah, fantastic player as well. Fits into that attacking sort of front line that Ricky's got sort of set up as well. So brilliant player. And
we mentioned our options on the wing already. Man, we can never forget it's Cammy Bredner, who's one of our favourite players. We'll touch on him a bit more soon as well. And then up front as well, we've got Josh Gemmell, striker. Certainly got some goals in him as well. I think he's done really well. He was sort of slightly limited by his opportunities last season because of the form of Ross McNeil. It's always going to make it difficult for a young striker and playing one up front, but stay patient, comes on the park and scores some big goals. So
he had big contributions at the end of the season. So yeah, fully expect to see him right in amongst it this season in the goals.
And we're going to finish up now with a few quick questions, Fraser, which we've gone through before. So we've got a few different topics to go through. The first one is going to be, Fraser, who is a player that you're excited to watch for the Braves this year?
Well, it's a long list, but Cammy Bredner finished off last season just in red hot form, and has come in pre-season in good form as well. So brilliant player. Looking forward to seeing him having a bit of football, the experience under his belt, and yeah, I think the sky's the limit for Cammy.
Yeah, definitely. And left-footed player, plays on the left or the right, cutting. Wicked strikes, crosses, really exciting. Love to watch him play.
And for you, Callum?
For me, I was going to say, player I'm excited to watch this year again is Greg Stewart. I think I've mentioned all the qualities he has on the ball, off the ball as a defender as well. You've seen him grow and how he's going to sort of develop this year. You know, as a centre back with a game in front of him, he's going to be so crucial for the team, building that from the back. Whilst he might not get the headlines of our goal scorers, perhaps at times, I think he's someone to really watch out for this year and develop on as well, because he's a player that had a bit of bad luck with injuries in the past as well. So this year, hopefully injury-free, kicks on. Really excited for that. Next question, Fraser, is top scorer. And I mean, we could do a 3, 2, 1 countdown here if you want and say, because I'm assuming we might just go for the same option here. So Fraser, you want to give me your top scorer in 3, 2, 1? Ross McNeil. Yeah, I think that was the easiest one there.
That's maybe doing a disservice to Reg and Josh, and even
yes, of course.
Zach, I fully expect.
Just the numbers that Ross gets to, though, is unbelievable. He's done it every year.
Breaking 30 this season. What do you reckon?
With the support he's got coming in this year, a bit of extra, what he certainly could do. I think he stood up last year in a bit of a different way to maybe what you'll see this year. You'll see a bit more, and maybe he won't, even if he doesn't score as many goals as he does last year, because there's going to be more goals around him, I think, it's fair to say. But you could still see, it'd be silly to go into the season sort of predicting anyone else to be top scorer. Club captain, leader, top of the park as well. Obviously, we'll touch on that a bit more at times, I'm sure. Ross is the captain of the club, so he's responsible for everything, and John wears the armband on a game day, so real leader at the top of the park, and more excited to see him play. But certainly a player that's broken through as Ross McNeil. And who is a player that you think could possibly kick on a bit from last season, what we saw, who are you excited to sort of see break through this year?
Kean Spears, maybe. I think there's a lot to come from Kean. He contributed well last season, and was fitted into the Brave structure really well. But didn't get, and it was probably the case with a lot of the players playing in that sort of
number 10 role
behind Ross. they weren't getting maybe consistent starts.
I mean, Rock had a time where we had 5 or 6 really good options in there, and that's no discredit to any of them. It's just what would fit certain games.
Yeah.
Keane can kick on, maybe see a few more goals, assists. I'm sure he'll be really keen to add that to his game as well, but he's got all the assets.
Another season under Ricky's tutelage, I think.
2 more questions to go, Fraser. This next one, I'm going to ask you, the world is covered, how much of it is covered by water? A large percentage of it.
Yes, 70.
At least. However, any area of the world that's not covered by water, who is it covered by?
There's some people might wrongfully think N'Golo Kante, but the correct answer is actually Christian Gaetka.
Our Greek freak.
The Greek freak.
The Greek freak in midfield, yeah. Because he really covers every blade of artificial turf at Lions Park, doesn't he? I think 12 kilometres every game.
Yeah, minimum,
that's a good option. And I was going to mention as well, shout out to Ryan Murray coming in as well, midfield player. We've touched quite a bit on Ryan already, so won't talk too long. But him and John, you just have so much combative energy in there, and honestly, Christian will just chase anything down. So look forward to seeing that this season. And our final question is going to be, who would be the first pick if the Braves players were going to have a quick change of career path here into a different sport? Who would be the first pick in the NFL from the Braves squad?
I think
it's a versatile game here. There's different options.
Exactly. There are. Maybe a Bernie White.
Yeah, that was
got to be up there.
He can launch in American football.
He can,
because he's got these long throws as well, which people start to see, which is sort of not top of your list of things you start to think about with a goalkeeper, but such a dangerous thing to start counter attacks as well. He can launch over the halfway line, so quarterback I think is the option. Yeah.
And forgive me, my American football knowledge is somewhat
as is mine.
But
I've seen that Super Bowl. I've seen that one.
But Daniel Martins as well, he's solid as a rock. So maybe as a linebacker, I was reliably informed as maybe.
I think that is
the defensive.
The big man. You don't get around Dan Martins too easily.
I wouldn't back myself.
I've seen him. I'll be honest. I've seen Dan pull a few players down as well. A few fouls in there.
Exactly.
We won't talk about. I won't put any of those clips into the podcast. So, but you're kind of encouraged to do that in American football. It's all about breaking a man down.
Exactly.
But he's big, solid. You're not getting around him, and I'm going to push you for a wide receiver as well.
That's got to be something quick.
Someone quick, good movement.
Good movement. And Cammy Bednar and Zach, but I'll go Zach Butterworth.
Aidan Clotty's a shout in there as well. I think his movement is brilliant. So always making those runs.
Yeah, you can see him absolutely reaching up and grabbing. He's doing a wee flip on the way and celebrating in the end zone. With his Nike TNs.
Oh, of course.
Signing a lucrative deal, I can see that.
Well, hopefully it doesn't come to that. So you've got them down as Caledonian Braves players. So, I mean, it sounds like quite the life that you've pitched out there. But
if he gets that contract, he can invest in the club and help us reach the dizzy heights of the Scottish Premiership and the Champions League.
You never know. I mean, who needs to go to the Champions League though when you've got the Phoenix Trophy to look forward to as well, Fraser? Because that's what we'll just finish this up by touching on as well. This new week, huge news that we hopefully will be going on a European tour as well. We're going to be in European competition. Either way, the draw is going to be next week. But Fraser, that's very exciting news.
Oh, hugely exciting. I was having a look at the teams as ranging from, we've got Norway, Finland, Denmark to the Baltics. We've got Serbia and Montenegro options there, and then
Germany, Italy, Belgium.
Yeah, fantastic. So just quickly before we end this, where do you see yourself?
I keep changing my mind all the time on this one. We trip out to Milan. I love Italy, but I've been a few times, so that would be good. But if we get to the final, we'll be playing at the San Siro anyway, hopefully.
Yeah. So
trip to Italy, we'll save that for later. I really want. I want to go to I was going to say Manchester as a joke there. And I'll be honest, Oslo, you've mentioned it already, Fraser. I'll let you touch on that in a second. Would be great. I've done Prague already. That would be brilliant. Possibly Finland. I'm not sure. So many good options.
Great options, yeah. Oslo for me.
Oslo, it's got to be.
I spent a bit of time there at university and lovely city. And I'd love to go back and watch the Braves on a European tour against FC Oslo, so that would be my choice, but I would take anything.
Yeah.
Trip to see the Prague Raptors.
I must be honest, we do all have our fingers crossed that we're getting out of the UK, but we'll take anything we get and enjoy it, of course.
Maybe Scotland will do.
Well, that's minimum as the only Scottish representatives, of course, but it's going to be an exciting season, Fraser, and I'm really looking forward to what's to come, and people can tune in to hear us rambling away on commentary.
Yeah, apologies in advance.
We've had some good feedback, so we'll try and keep it that way. But
we
really,
delete all the bad feedback.
Oh, I tune it out. I tune it out. Thanks, Mum, for the good comment there. I see you. But we'll be back then for the first game of the season, Fraser. I'm sure you better be joining me. I haven't double checked that.
Against Gala Fairydean Rovers.
Very excited for that. So make sure everyone is ready for that one and tuning in on the 27th of July from Alliance Park. It'll be a 3 p.m. kickoff here, so you can calculate what time that's going to be around the world. I can't, but
about 10 o'clock in Eastern time.
We'll work it out. We'll let you know. You don't want to miss it though. Get your alarms set early days. It's going to be a really good one. We're looking forward to that one. Fraser, thank you for joining me for this. It's been great to talk about everything Caledonian Braves in some detail, as we always do. So
maybe too much. We'll see.
We'll see on that. So thanks for your time again, Fraser, and thanks to everyone for tuning in for this one. Goodbye.
Thank you.